If we think about product design today, think about it like an electric vehicle today in 2025. If you compare it to 2020, 2022 even, things have evolved a lot. The battery has changed, the capacity has changed, and the performance have significantly improved. Product design is a little bit like that. There's a lot more tools and technology that comes into it. Even the circumstances around businesses and stakeholders and the context of where product design sits within an organization has evolved a lot. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about it, what AI means, what processes and system means today, and how to best position yourself as a product designer, or even if you're looking for a product design team member as part of your team, how to best configure this so it stays relevant to the business needs today. The first thing that has evolved is that design is now part of strategy. Think about it as a whole business process rather than just siloed discipline in itself. So the more upstream you get as a product designer, the more value that you can bring to an organization or your team. So think about it as a product designer. It would be so much more valuable if you can understand product roadmaps, business roadmaps, positioning, the commercialization of how the business or the product works in the market, the understanding of the market research and the users all around it. So the more involved you are and better insights that you have or you bring as a product designer that influences your decision-making process and a product design process, that would bring you so much more value, as well as I guess the byproduct of that is that your team gains so much more input from you as a product designer that influences the outcome of the product. So therefore, you're designing for an outcome, and your process as a product designer really helps the business that way. The second point where product design has evolved today is that there's a lot of AI technology, as you know, and as a matter of fact, it's really hard to get away without having to talk about AI these days in the ecosystem that we live in. But think about it as you are not AI replaced, but rather AI enhanced. And that's really how technology around AI could really, could be really something that you leverage out of your process. AI, at least in my understanding today, is not really replacing those soft, intangible qualities that comes from a human. And that's things like storytelling, just that human nature of being able to judge something or empathize towards something is something that is by far is not really replaceable, at least in my experience. And therefore, the really effective way to utilize AI at the moment is to be able to leverage it for repetitive tasks, such as, like in my case, it's probably analyzing a number of user interviews, being able to help analyze and synchronize and be able to synthesize it in a much more efficient and fast way, rather than me spending 10 hours of time, for example. That could be done in an hour or two, and it creates a draft for me to analyze it and further refine it from there. But the judgment of being able to understand the emotions of the interviewees that I spoke to and matching that against what the business stakeholder wants and ideally needs, along with all of the nuances that comes with it, that's really hard to replace with AI. So AI is definitely very helpful in terms of being able to increase speed in the things that we do. However, it's not able to replace some of the human qualities that is part of our human nature as the best thing that we have on hand. Product design is all about collaboration, and collaboration today means so much more than what it was a few years ago. So as a product designer, if you are part of a team and you're able to facilitate workshops, facilitate conversations as part of your design process. So let's just think about a scenario where you need to come up with a design prototype to be able to test and validate it against a set or a group of users. Then as part of that process to get to that prototype, if you are able to facilitate it in a way where you get to gather insights and requirements from different types of stakeholders in different parts of the business and be able to collaborate together to understand what the mutual needs are and be able to do that quickly and effectively, that's the type of skill that would definitely be required today as part of you becoming a product designer in the team. And it's an opportunity for you to bring so much more value into the business, and therefore the business is able to move forward with a much more richer type of impact, as well as deliverables that would not be able to be achieved without your design process or your ideal product design process. So therefore, be a lot more collaborative in the process, because I think that's definitely where you could make a difference as a product designer today as opposed to years and years ago. The next thing that you as a product designer could do to stay relevant today is that you should be designing for outcomes over artifacts. So artifacts are obviously important as part of your pathway to a good outcome, because you need to be collecting insights and artifacts within the business to inform you on decisions that you are going to make as a product designer. But designing for outcomes and designing it with intent for purpose is even more so important. Now, Jacob Nielsen famously says that even best designers can design, I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially what he's saying is even the best designers can design a beautiful solution, but if they're designing it for the wrong problem, then it's going to be meaningless. So therefore, as part of your evolution and adapting to the needs today, it is important to understand what the main purpose is and who are we targeting, what are we measuring, and therefore you could measure outcomes from there and have a much more influential and meaningful design piece that comes out of your expertise. The next thing that you can do is also think in systems. This is one of those things that separates experienced and seasoned designers to junior designers, is you think methodically, you think systematically, you know the pieces and the elements that are required in order to achieve a desired outcome. So systems can be design systems, it can be flows, it can be different charts and diagrams or processes, but essentially if you have a system or a process, then hold dear to it and follow it accordingly and tweak as necessary. So at Relab, for example, we have this implementation process pathway that we use and position ourselves accordingly as to like where our expertise sit within this pathway of, say, an innovation cycle. Right. So if we have that and we hold dear to it, then all of the activities and everything that we do throughout that process of designing for a solution will be a lot more meaningful that way. So come up with a process, with a system. If there is no process at the moment or systems in your organization, then maybe initiate that, because that's definitely going to be an important and a valuable guideline to how you do things, and how the trickle-down effect of that is really how your company or business ends up doing things and gets influenced to how you think of systems. And the last thing here is continue to stay curious and continue to stay adaptable. As you can see, there's so many changes that can happen within only 6 to 12 months time, and different technologies emerges all the time and markets adapt to it differently. And ultimately, the market is a market. It will say the truth. And we as humans can try to understand what the market really wants and take advantage out of the technology that's available out there. And with our curiosity and adaptability, we can definitely leverage the two and find that intersection so that we're able to bring the most value out of our roles as product designers. So if you're able to continue learning, continue to stay curious, and just simply take the leap of faith to try something new, that will always bring value to you as a product designer. Okay guys, so I hope that's been helpful to you. And I mean, I continually try to learn myself as well as part of my growth. In the things that I do today, I evolved from a graphic designer to a freelance designer to a UI, UX designer, CX designer, all the way down to becoming a facilitator. And the things that I do today, that's really because I try to evolve and adapt over time. Obviously, there are so many things out there that we don't even know and we can't foresee today. But if you take it a step at a time and just embrace changes and look at the positive light around it, and also just have a genuine empathy towards your users and the people that you serve, I think that will do you good anyway. All right, we'll leave it there. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Have a look at the links down below for ways to contact and connect with me, and follow all of the channels that we have, as well as we're producing more and more content at Relab through our blogs and newsletters and whatnot. Have a look at all of that because it might be beneficial to you. Who knows? All right, have a good one and stay safe.